And sometimes there is a disconnect in the marketing dialect and the senior management banker dialect. As marketers, we naturally gravitate towards the touchy-feely, the activity, the creativity things, the colors, the logos, the images, all the stuff that might be somewhat hard to manage. We know that they're important, but it's hard to tie down a specific ROI to them. So when we talk about the impressions that were generated, or sentiment seems to be going up. Okay, well, people like us more, but does that get us more loans? Is that getting us more deposits? We did a new logo. Hey, this looks cooler. We're more contemporary. How do we measure that? And yeah, that might be important from a positioning perspective to Gen Zs and millennials, but how do we figure out how we're going to measure that and to be able to provide feedback? So we are thought of as a cost center versus the banker language of, hey, we've been able to decrease our cost of funds and grow our deposits. Our net interest margin is increasing because we're generating more low cost deposits because people trust us more. Our efficiency ratios are getting better. Different ways that we can speak the language to try to blend marketing activities into their influence. And that gives us the ability where an investment in marketing produces a return as opposed to it's a cost. And we see that as an expense item. We want to be able to generate revenue with what it is that we're doing. Now, sometimes there's the challenge with, do we really have a clear understanding of how much a new loan relationship or a new deposit relationship is? That's a discussion that needs to take place to have a better understanding of the whole ROI equation. But leading that discussion is something that we can help with. So when we think of this translation for, hey, we need some money for a brand awareness, we're looking for 10,000 or $50,000 to be able to generate 10 million in new deposits. And we're tracking that through our online deposit platform. We've created a special product. We're using UTM parameters, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, or some tracking functionality. Open rates are great, but what does that mean from a retention, from an upsell? What sorts of links are they clicking on, and what are they doing after they click those links? Those are all different things. Yeah, website traffic is up, which is going to be more and more difficult in the age of AI as people are getting their answers from platforms like ChatGPT and Perplexity. But the relevant traffic, we want to talk about that. And then what are they doing when they show up? What buttons are they clicking on? What engagement are they doing? And do those lead to conversations with lenders? Do they lead to appointments with branch managers through platforms like Microsoft Bookings or other sorts of online application capabilities? So having understanding of where all those pieces are moving is part of what goes on in a marketer's daily life. And as marketers, you probably all know this, but to many in the organization, some of these things might seem like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that they were doing all of that. So if we think of it from a CFO's perspective, where they're actually looking at the numbers, we're looking at things like acquisition cost, the lifetime value, and then pipeline, how much that dollar value is worth. The one that I really want to double down on is that lifetime value. That is one of the more critical elements of a marketer's tool set, but so many institutions that we talk to don't have that number. Spend some time with your CFO. Say, hey, I heard about this thing called customer lifetime value. What does it mean? How do we calculate it? What's a good estimate? Profitability may not be something that you have access to, but you can do some of those calculations or those estimates. Back when I was a banker, we used an MCIF system, Marketing Customer Information File, and we found out through that profitability analysis that the average mortgage relationship to us, looking at all the different products and services that they used and how long they stayed, and fixed rate loans were sold to Freddie Mac, but we retained servicing and we got servicing income. The average mortgage relationship had a lifetime value of 7,500 bucks. So we then had that as the bogey when we started calculating our ROI, the return of $7,500 versus the investment of how much we spent. We knew where our break evens were.